and YouTube, Facebook, and keep waiting for the LinkedIn to come through as well. And then I can press go and then mute it. And hello, hello, hello.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
There you go. Awesome. It's all flowing and going, and we're here for um there's been quite a bit of talk about masking that I've noticed. Or there was a specific question in a really awesome group that I'm in about masking in business and when being neurodivergent. Um, I don't think well, personally, from my perspective, it's not about that. Masking is just associated with um, being neurodivergent, and it's the it's just the evidence of it, or maybe symptoms that come from processes that affect us potentially more, or we've learned to be. It depends on whether we're more sensitive or more reactive to things in particular ways and in our own ways. So, what is this sense of being able to unmask? It's a fascinating topic because um, through the years of studying it myself, in terms of what's neurotypical, in terms of what masking is, through mental fitness training, as well as how that's related to what I was doing in the past of not knowing how to communicate and going into social situations with a level of social anxiety that was so well masked that I wasn't actually anxious. Uh, I just came away really upset. The whole point of these processes of what it potentially is saboteurs or sabotages us psychologically, is that we can't actually grasp onto very easily, is because some of them feel safe and good at the time, and some of them feel like overwhelmed. It's easy to go, oh yeah, I'm feeling stressed right now. Sometimes for some people, and again, it depends on whether we can sense our bodies and feel our bodies. Some people don't feel as much and are rational in their mind. They see the words or they see visuals, and some people don't see visuals. Is what I call the unique learning ability, is to reframe neurodivergence, reframe it as neurocreativity, to own our unique learning ability. It's just one of the frameworks that are put together to help go, what's the strengths, what's the abilities here, and what makes us unique in terms of how we process ideas, not just the way we learn overall, but the actually how we see, feel, or hear our own ideas, and where how they're processed is really useful. How we show up in business that way. So once I know that I feel everything, I'm more likely to be able to go, oh, I'm feeling it, but I know that it's it. I had to practice a lot to feel all the feelings without making them mean more than they were. Um, and and the only way of doing that was going to places where I had to test it out. I couldn't be testing it without being in the places where it needed to be tested. To practice a certain processes, social anxiety, I would create cards to help me play and change perspective in the moment. To pull out a card and go, freedom. Freedom is written in blue to feel free, so I could feel free. And this is the point, is like lots of different types of values. If I remind myself of my own embodied values in that moment, I'm able to go, okay, I'm allowed to feel free right now. And that immediately meant that that could change the perspective on my emotions. So that's just even just one way of changing perspective on how we have our own masks. And the other thing is that the masks are there naturally in order to protect in the first place. They're there to feel like there's the known, what we want to be known as in the moment, and what we don't want to share with others. And if we didn't have a mask to filter through all the ideas that we have in any moment, would be that's what often Tourette's can be about, is the inability to stop the process of the words coming out of someone's mouth is a natural untapped unmasking of their thoughts in the moment. So some people struggle with not being able to put the mask on, just as much as being able to, or having a mask on. So, and again, mine was so subtle. I mean, I wasn't diagnosed with dyslexia until 33, and I had to insist on the test twice in order to get to the full test, because the mild one said the small computer screen to check first of all, like the first point of screening was came up as very mild, and I had to insist on it to be able to find out properly twice. And then I only then I, yeah then I got diagnosed with the dyslexia, which then I meant I could actually have the help I needed to get through the course, because I was so good and so subtle at just seeming comfortable, seeming okay. And I probably was at the time, but I wasn't able to express my ideas. I was just frustrated all the time and wasn't creating relationships the way I wanted to, or knowing how to. I wasn't knowing how to know that I could learn and change those things too. So there's so many things about what the mask means, what it actually is. And it's situation like a mask for some person might be an addictive process that's a behavioral process, like an actual addiction in a particular situation, but they don't crave it anywhere else in their life. Or and so addictions are connected to addicted thoughts, patterns, masks. We get into things like the people-pleasing psyche. And anyone that says that I am a dot 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 means that they're associating and reinforcing that pattern and that mask within them. It's like it's better to be able to say, I have the pattern, and it calls it out. Like I have like I don't know, any particular health condition. If it's said as the condition, not my condition, or I have it, that's actually claiming it and keeping it in the mind and the body. It's not to disregard the importance of what's going on, or belittle the situation. Is actually just to help disassociate as much as possible, so it can actually be looked at more objectively and see what's possible to change. I always like to say, what else is possible to change? What else is possible to change? That's what I went through my mental health crises, my emotional um, uh, inc incapacitated moments in my life. So much anxiety leading back from a point leading to a complete mental breakdown in my early 20s, and couldn't sleep, and I didn't know how to communicate my ideas or my what was going on. I felt embarrassed about it all, and I healed naturally. I was able to 14 weeks had reflexology, which really helped to reset, helped me to rest. I rested, I relaxed, I could start sleeping better, and that all kickstarted a process of healing to be able to get to a point where I felt like I knew who I was again, and I wasn't having any symptoms of that process. And then I was like, well, that's possible to change. So these masks that we have are there to protect us, and I like to think of them as a layer of a layer and layer of a layer of a layer, because there's like much more subtle ones through to how they relate to the words we use consciously. And it's just not as it's not black and white. We can actually use the labels of the people pleaser, the avoider, the perfectionist, of these things to catch those thoughts, catch those feelings in the moment, so that we can actually dissociate them and call them out, so they can actually um, calm down. And uh, so the reason why I say that is um, that they to put them into a box is actually useful, but it's not that they are just boxes either. So they are ingrained in our stories of the past leading up to now, to help us stay protected and to filter out all the information that's going on all the time. So we need the masks. It's like, what mask do you need and want at the time? And some people, even when we talk about flow state trainings, um, and to work on how we get into flow, because we can get into a flow with that mask. The negative or the detrimental mask that's not serving us in that moment, we're in flow with it. And so to get out of flow and into a different flow, it can feel uncomfortable because it can feel actually comfortable to be in that mask. So so and so it should, because it's there as what we actually only know in that moment. And and so we've got to work with how we can take our comfort to a discomfort in a way in which changes the situation, and it really helps to actually visualize a different mask to put on. It's like, actually, literally, if I put my nice shirt on that I like to wear to do a live, I feel like I'm in flow with being able to describe and be confident with myself. So I use a shirt as a way to be putting the mask on of of live Rory Lemon, so that I can be clear and concise and share. And so it's actually really useful to put on a persona to get something done that we don't usually do, or would need to do in order to get something done we don't find comfortable to do, because our psyche has got the mask of, I'm not that kind of person to learn that thing or get into flow with that thing. And there's always a struggle phase with that process. So showing up in business, what types of things are you um, struggling with or challenged by that are normal? Because your identity is this, and your identity is a mask in itself, but it's a multitude of different elements of masks in different situations. So if there's something that you find difficult or hard, is it because it's hard, or is it because there's not enough knowledge or capacity to see yourself doing the thing, and that's why it's a push pull push back thing? Or is it because it's just a case of getting back to what we call neutral zone, what I call neutral zone self-commanding, um, in mental fitness as PQ reps, which mindfulness practices and various tools to uh, get back to the moment. When we're in the moment, we're able to discern what's going on. And even if it was uncomfortable, we can just be with the uncomfort till it calms to the point where we can take decisive action on something next. And so if we've already preconceived what we do want to grow into, getting clear on that's just as important as getting clear on what we don't want. So that we can go, okay, I'm experiencing that I don't want this anymore and I want to do this instead. And the self-command in the middle, most people just can, not I say most people, it's a thing to that I don't hear anyone mention as much as going, I don't want this and I do want this, because there's this duality, night, day, right, wrong thing that's led into all messaging in all different ways. But what about a neutral zone that's not attached to either or of those? And we go from a particular heightened sense of who we are, or if it's upset or pleasure or whatever it is, but it's not what we do want, back to neutral first, get into neutral gear so that we can then go into what we do want. And so that could be overall on a big task, a big project that takes time to learn or practice and repetition to do those gears, or practice getting into it in the moment. So that unmasking, it's like, what does that, I didn't even know what that meant. How do I unmask? Because mine are so subtle, I couldn't actually mask or unmask, because I didn't know what to look out for. So I had to do the trainings. I worked with the trainings, and then I um realized that it's not just a case of unmasking, it's a case of what mask do I want to put on instead, and what do I want to um achieve. And how do I get to be neutral first so I can actually have the capacity in that moment go from unwanted to neutral, unattached, to then going into the gear of. So that's really how I perceive it all. It's about what it's like, and reflecting on what's wanted, what's not wanted, where practicing where the self practice needs to occur, so that that new reality can be worked on as soon as possible. And then neurocreativity, and to be a neurocreative leader is to be able to learn these practices and um, discern in any moment how to change gears, or help someone else to be listened to, so to help them to change gears. Um, is what I believe is important. So there's what I call pattern collapse, and that's a process that I help people with to recognize, refresh, rehearse, and result what they want for their decision in the moment, from the stress to success feelings, or even heart-centered vision of the whole project, and and getting projects out there. And so it's about noticing what patterns to collapse and what patterns to build upon. And so that's really where I'm coming from with unmasking. It's not a clear cut thing. Maybe you can pick someone that does, um, maybe whatever you're getting from this, give us your ideas, your insights, because this is just from my perspective how I see things, and how I see what masking is. Maybe there's clear cut things. It's like, oh, I definitely know when I'm masking here, and I can unmask by just doing this thing, and I feel like this. And it's maybe it's a much more simple process, or maybe it's confusing and never heard of it, or there's trying going on. So I'd love to know more opinions on what that is, what that means for you, what masking does for you, what masking doesn't do for you, what unmasking does for you, and what unmasking doesn't do for you, when you've done it from a different perspectives. And what is our there's only one truth, and that is what we perceive is true for us in any moment. So there's no other truth other than to help someone. I want to help people to find their own truth, in put that into projects, so that they can be the neurocreative leaders of their lives, regardless of whether they feel like they're neurodivergent or not. It's about that channeling that creativity for mental health and mental wealth and mental stealth in the world. And so thanks for listening. And what else can I share? If there's anything else I can answer in comments, I will. If you're watching this on a replay, say hashtag replay. If you're on, uh, yeah, any highlights that come to your mind, share them out, because they'll ripple out to other people as well. So when we have a call to action, uh, and it's a calling, when we answer it, it potentially has a massive ripple effect on what we perceive, what we want to create, and how that shares out in the algorithms of not just the social media algorithms, but also the quantum mechanics of consciousness, which is a whole another thing to talk about another time. Um, yeah, that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed that. Let us know what you get from it, because there's different areas of business, and um, maybe there's different things you want to achieve with your processes, um, and where you do want to feel more masked, or less masked, or unmasked, or masked. It's all fascinating. It's all really fascinating, and it's all down to knowing. I say, know thyself to flow thyself, and to choose what to flow thyself with is so important, because we can be flowing, and what I call functional creativity is to get into flow here and there with creativity. But visionary creativity is to really have that sense of strong vision and get into flow. Everything that can be evidence of getting towards working on that vision. Visionary is bigger than being visionary, and having visionary projects that have a message that remind other people to all that we're all together working on these things, and inspiring each other. Um, in inclusivity and creativity and sustainability is my vision for neurodivergent founders to get their projects out there. So give us a wave if you want a pattern breakthrough session and also a launch pad. There's also I'm doing launch pads, the launch NeuroCreative launch pad as well, applications for getting your project out there with up, really amazing uh, methods and tools to not just have the tools to get your projects and your message designed, feel your worth, speak your worth, and launch your worth, um, and the support and accountability to do that too. So that's it for now. And thanks for listening and have a great day. All the best.